Hello, cyberspaces. It is I, Terracin, your favorite cyber bitch here. And tonight is a special night for me. I am doing an interview with Micky Coy. Um, Most of you would know him as the. Some people called him the leader of Rebels at the Round Table. He has decided to come in for an interview tonight. How are you, Micky?
I'm doing well, Tara. Thank you. How are you doing?
I'm tired. I want it to be March already so I can be up in Illinois with my pudding.
I understand that. I like him too. He's a good man. Real good man.
All right, so Micky, the first question I have for you is what brought you to YouTube?
Honestly, I got tired of seeing people bloviate and putting up opinions, what they call or opinion facts, as I like to call it. They put opinions out there like they're backed by something, but they never referenced anything. And at a certain point, I actually started off with the idea of having a disparate group of people with different views so it wouldn't be an echo chamber.
Mm-hmm.
And it seemed to work fine until, certain parties decided they were going to start using threats and damage, to damage the reputation of the show. In which case, when I gave my word about it that I would burn it down before I saw it subverted, I did exactly that. But I am coming back with a different show, a different format, and it'll probably be just me for the most part. That way, then I don't have to worry about working for five people, worrying about having to get different schedules together and what somebody might or might not say. Because I do not call at all for direct violence, but I do think there's some things that have to be put out there and have to be said and have to be backed up with facts because there's too much of this anonymous source and opinion facts, if that makes any sense whatsoever.
All right, so when you were doing Rebels at the Round, many called you a Nazi, and from what I understand, you're not exactly the stereotypical Nazi that they like to say. Um, so, what would you say you are as opposed to being the quote unquote Nazi?
Well, let me put it to you this way. It's like this. At my heart of hearts, I'm a voluntarist. I always have been. I don't believe in overweening, you know, finger wagging, I'm going to control everything you say and do type thing. But at the same time, I also understand that in order to, you'd have to have the entire world population, or at least population of a geographical area, at least a minimum level enlightenment to be able to do a completely voluntarist thing. However, as I started looking into it, um, I've read Mein Kampf, I've read the Culture Critique and several other books by McDonald. I've read The Bell Curve, which was these aren't exactly like what you would call white people names with Herstein and Murray Goy. Um, but as it stands right now, yes, I identify as a National Socialist. But when they talk about it'd be more along the lines of like George Lincoln Rockwell style, and I don't think people quite understand it. As I got into it, I found a lot of lies that were perpetrated. Um, so here's a general gist of what I found. I am definitely anti-degeneracy. I can't stand it. National Socialists are against are against the idea of objectifying women for like porn and such like that. Like the way back with the Matthew Shepard thing. Well, what you do in your bedroom is your business. Well, that transitioned to homosexuals and bull dykes walking down the streets with their wangs and tits hanging out in front of small kids. So how did it transition? Because that's what happens. And I was thinking about this the other day, and think about anything that's wholesome and pure and good. Hell, when my kids were small, they had a program on called Barney the Purple Dinosaur. It
Yeah, I
talked about,
remember that show.
yeah, talked about friendship and sharing, and it had talked about morals, and it was demonized. Look at all these Disney princess types. You know, who is it? The one girl. I mean, you got Jeanette McCurdy. She was tossed off for having her tits out. Miley Cyrus is now, you know, she probably, if there's a clapper in the room and she ran through it, it'd probably look like a strobe light. She's been beat so much, you know. You know, and you think about what the hell's the other one? That Mexican girl that I don't know. She was dating the Bieber thingy for a while. I don't keep up with a lot of but they're all sluts now, you know. So and it always tends towards degeneracy, and people the system demonizes anything that's good and pure and wholesome. National Socialism does support traditional families, men and women. It does not, you know, it frowns on pornography. It talks about the arts, not, you know, like piss Christ throwing a crucifix in a jar of urine and putting a screw on his a lid on it is art. But I wonder how a Jew would react if I decided to throw, you know, a several Talmud scrolls and the Star of David in a vat of shit. I wonder how that'd be received. Oh, I'd be anti-Semite. I'd be this. I'd be that. But you know, it's a, and you see constantly, and I can provide any number of news items where white people have to give up everything because McGibbs. White men are patriarchy, toxic masculinity. Well, if you forgive me and give me a couple of moments here, I'd like to explain something from history,
Go for
which
it.
when you're talking about the more formative years of human civilization, especially European civilization, the men would be the ones that went out and hunted. They were the ones that fought the wars. They were the ones that defended from the tribes. And women were the ones that were the nurturers. They stayed at home with the domesticated animals. They tended to tend the farms more. They reared the children. They taught the children certain skills, and the men would take the boys at a certain age to teach those skills, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's a more of a traditional role. Women are equal to men, but they are also meant for a different purpose. When you try to erase that line, you destroy what makes men and women special because of their distinct purposes. And personally, I think that this whole idea, like with this big abortion shit going on right now, it is the ultimate denial of a woman's purpose. Like abortion, I think, is the holy Eucharist of the leftist church. To kill your own offspring, it makes these women black widows. The time to say I don't want a kid is before you let him put, you know, Mr. Hyde play and hide the sausage. Okay? Before you do that, you know, it's a simple thing to me that if you don't want children, don't screw. On top of the fact that you know, women are saying, "Well, I can't find a good man." Well, you've got four kids to, you know, four different guys. It's not like it's not like a guy's going to come to you for a long-term relationship to raise somebody else's progeny. Now, is it? If women are more chaste to beginning, they have a higher sexual market value where they could bargain for a better husband and get more resources and live a better life. And your children would grow up to have those values, and things would be a lot different now, wouldn't it? It's just a basic common sense and logic now, isn't it?
True.
But as far as that goes right now, yeah, you could call me a Nazi, I guess. I've been called a lot worse by a lot better. Hell, I've been called the Dark Lord of the Internet by some idiots.
So um, I gotta ask your accent,
Yes.
Irish or Scottish?
A wee bit of both. Dad came from Scotland, Mum was from Ireland.
Awesome.
And yeah, so I mean, I've spent a lot of time in both places. Um, and the reason we came here is the very same is to get away from the very shit that they're importing now. You know, I lost my family. There were some friends that we were walking back down into the village, and some asshole had popped a bomb in the trash bin and blew one of my best friends away. So that's when Mum and Dad decided it was time. Now, mind you, that was back in the day with the IRA going on.
Mm-hmm.
They said, "Oh yeah, it's time to go." But because Mum and Dad both had skills, she was an English teacher, Sunday school teacher, and you know she had marketable skills. And my dad was a miner, and he knew how to operate every bit of machinery. And he was a mining supervisor. He had marketable skills, and it was a lot easier to come to the Americas that way. Meritocracy, it's when skilled labor mattered, right?
So there was a rumor floating around that you worked for the CIA.
Is that right?
Yes.
Can anybody prove it?
Not that I'm aware of.
Well, then I'm just going to decline any kind of comment on that. Because quite honestly, what the hell does that have to do with anything?
I was just asking.
No, that's fine.
I was just remembering that there was a rumor going around, and yeah, I'm like,
oh, so I guess then, okay, let's put it this way. Even if I was, or I had, would that change anything about what I'm saying now?
Not that I'm aware of. I just wanted to see if we could confirm or deny, or as you're doing.
I will neither confirm or deny that rumor.
I was going to say you're pleading the fifth.
Yeah, I'm just going to let them talk. I'll let people talk, because you know what? The more they talk, the more headspace I'm taking up, and the less they can bother people like yourself.
So I have to ask this one. How'd you come across Burnside?
Burnside actually met on Mines, I believe. I ran across him in the early stages when I'd first gotten on there. He posted a number of things I thought were interesting. I made some comments, and we got into some pretty healthy discussions. And I posted to him a document I'd written called "The Anarchy." It was 10 points of basically 10 secular points of how you could run a society without religion, without banks, without, and you could counter check yourself, because everything would be public record. So it'd be kind of hard to lie or, steal or cheat if anybody could go up there with your name, punch it in, and your general location, punch it in and see your contract record. If you honored your contracts, if you were a shady shit, if you had a violent record, whatever. My point of it in the end was, I don't agree with the quote unquote judicial system. And I'll be honest, no, I don't have a great love for Jews. Every time I look behind things, I find them behind a lot of this crap, and it really gives me the case of the red ass, if you excuse the expression. But like, for an example, say a woman is raped, okay, and I stand accused. All right. So my factor would come to me. Her factor, well, she would call her factor, or, contract agent. They'd come to me, to my contract manager. He'd come to me and say, "Well, you stand accused of this. We'll provide you with your representation." They have a tribunal, one picked by their company, one picked by my company, and then the two companies would pick an independent one together. That way it's pretty impartial. If I'm found innocent, she has to pay to restore my reputation and clear my name and put it out there publicly. But if I'm guilty, and here's the key part I thought about this. In our system today, if I actually commit a rape or a murder or some heinous crime, I go to prison, and all of you pay for my 3 hots in a cot, pay for my education, pay for whatever counseling I get, the electricity, the clothes, the showers, the soap. All right. I don't think that's quite justice, do you? What I'm saying is, in a situation like that, is I would have been taken off, or whoever that committed the crime was found guilty of it would be taken to a different location. They would work. They would have part of that money pay, the money pay for their stuff over a certain period of time. They'd have monies put back. They would pay for their own counseling. He or she would pay for the other person's counseling, medical bills, etc., and so forth, because she would get a huge lump sum up front to try and make her whole. And then it would be up to me, or the quote unquote the perpetrator, to work and put everything back. And then he would get a clean slate with a flag on it to watch for any further behaviors like that. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So it wouldn't show up to anybody except for the higher end contract people. But if it happened a second time, then they would, you would be either, I do believe in the death penalty. I really do. It puts a high standard on life. It's yours, right? So, I mean, if you wantonly take life, you're going to pay for it with your own. Pretty permanent solution.
Yeah.
But you want to be extremely careful with that. But I clearly I'm digressing.
Yeah. So
you can ask me anything. I'm not going to be offended. I promise.
Oh no. I'm trying to word it right. So a few months back, Rebels
Mm-hmm.
at the Round just poofed,
Yes.
and some were saying it was a conspiracy thing. Others were just like, "Where the fuck's Micky?"
Yeah, I feel bad about the people that didn't know and still don't know what's going on. I was planning on explaining that on the first episode of my new show I'm bringing out. But I mean, I will answer questions about that now. Um, the man that went by Jack Offington kind of helped screw the pooch. He made a comment. I have never called for outright violence. I do not look for outright violence. Violence is the last damn thing I want. Unlike your Antifa queers.
Mm-hmm.
I believe in protective force. I don't believe in initiative force, unless you know that the swing is coming and can clearly articulate that. So what happened was the show got fucking shouted because he said somebody should be killed. You two jumped on that damn thing like stink on Quim. It went from a 30-day show to a 90-day show, and then they were going to shut it down completely because they wanted this gone. We tried it on a different stage, and the very beginning of every show, Fox Reason and Evidence rule the day in this alt-right, all-white program. He stated on the air that Fox don't matter. Absolutely not will I put up with that shit. And there were some things going on in the background. He had sided with this guy, I don't know, angry asshole or irritable bow. I don't know what the fucking idiot's name was. But he's part of those fag fox things that were harassing, I think, you guys and us. And the only reason I got involved in that was because they were going after Burnside, who was one of my people, and I'm not going to sit there and have my people shit on by a bunch of fucking retards that all they can do is pile on, talk shit, and slander and libel.
Mm-hmm.
And I even put on one of the later shows, I put $1,500 up and said, any one of you fuckers want to come and try and take on the old man? Okay, we'll videotape this. We'll make it good. I'll throw the $1,500. It's still sitting here. I'm waiting. I've never rescinded that, and I won't, because I don't think they got the bollocks. I even put it again to Burnside the other day. I put the address, the same address I gave the last time. I'll pick the address. They can pick the date and time. They want to talk their shit. Okay, challenge accepted. I don't care if it's a fisticuffs match. I don't care if it's an actual debate. But if they're going to debate, part of the rules are they have to bring their facts. Where did you get the information?
So,
explain it to me.
What brought you to the realization that you were a National Socialist?
The ideology. If you actually read, there's a book called Hitler's Revolution by a chap named Richard Tedder. I didn't, I read the Mein Kampf book because I heard, oh, he was a madman, he was this, he was that. So I wanted to see, okay, I'll find out for myself. I want to read this for myself. And I read it, I'm like, I don't know, it doesn't sound all that crazy. It didn't sound overall, he actually admitted he was really quite partial to the struggle of the Jews at the beginning. It was only after he found out what was going on with the financial and what they were doing to the German people during the Weimar Republic that he started getting a case of the ass. And Richard Tedder is an art professor, not exactly what is known towards a hard right or what you would call a kind of guy that would bully up and defend a Nazi. I don't know many art professors that lean hard right. And I don't think Mr. Tedder does either. He just put forth facts. Now, yes, I had a persona I put on the Rebs, but again, that was a persona. That was a stage presence. It was meant for entertainment. I'm much more like the way I am right now, which is much more. I'd like to think reflective. I think a lot. I chew things over. I take my time in answering. And then when I got done with the book, Hitler's Revolution, I was incredibly angry at the facts I found out. Because I was reading through the book, I would find the information and I would dig around until I found the full article and information on it, and it confirmed it. So the more I read, the more angry I got. And then the Gottfried essays, where he was talking about most of it was actually about agrarian uh, planning for Germany, but Hitler didn't want world domination. He really didn't. He sued for peace I don't know how many times. As soon as he stopped the usury of the banks in 1933, the Jews literally declared war on Germany and they started the propaganda. Right? And what's the difference between that then and we got the mass media now doing this shit? Like let's say with just Trump. Now I don't agree with half the shit Trump does, but I see a pattern here. You know, oh he's not playing the game the way we want them to. We don't own him because we didn't pay for his. We can't bribe him or tell him what to do because we gave him all this money to get elected. So we're going to smear him, and they come out calling for the death of his son or his son to be put in, and Melania to be raped to death. And what's that redheaded idiot fucking hag? She looks like a complete nag. They held up that plastic head. National Socialism, not neo-Nazis. National Socialism appeals to my work ethic. If you don't work, you don't eat. It talks about how it's not a boss and workers; it's a leader and his men. A leader would associate with his men, would come to know his men, would allow his men to come to know him. He'd come to care about them, wouldn't be separated from them. There's always going to have to be a certain amount of distance because you have to make hard decisions, but at least your men would understand, why. Um, he would people of ability would be promoted based off the merit of their ability. That speaks to me because that's exactly the kind of thing I'm talking about with the voluntarist or the anarchist society, meritocracy. You get to keep what you earn. If you rise, it's based on your ability and your efforts. I don't know. There's something honorable about that. They didn't like lies. They don't like degeneracy. They weren't into objectification of men or women. They preferred fine art. And then at the same time, you're talking about a time in history when only the top 1 to 3% could afford luxury cruises. And in his day, you had middle class German families taking cruises to places like the Vatican, to see the Sistine Chapel, to just travel around the world. And he was giving credits to families to have children, to rebuild the nation, to make the nation strong. And I say to people all the time, these people that I'm all for an individual. Yeah, build your talents. Find out what you're good at. That's part of the human experience, self-discovery. But you know what? I dare, and I've said this before. I dare people. I feckin' dare them to make a pencil on their own. You know how much cooperation that takes? That's a collective. What you need, I honestly still believe that we should be moving toward a common goal, but you go about it with your own individual interests. You can't have like public spaces that I point out the Charlottesville thing. When you have different peoples of different racial, ethnic, religious, political backgrounds, and you're all granted a right, quote unquote, which I didn't necessarily believe in rights, access to common ground. When one side is willing to negotiate and the other one says, fuck off, I don't want to talk to you. I want to punch you in the throat, punch a Nazi, or screw the white guy, or fuck the nigger, or whatever you want to say, right? And I'm using that language deliberately to piss people off, to make them think. You can't have peace in a common area, can you? When everybody's fighting for something different. Even Socrates said that you can have a democracy if it's a homogenous society. if everybody is of the same people. Just how it is.
So, back in like I guess it was around September, July-ish.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there was a list that came out, the
Yes.
doxing list.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah,
what
the
was your
rainbow,
intent
the
with
rainbow
that?
shit. What's that name?
I said, what was your intent with that?
A doxing list that
Yeah,
I put out.
yeah, it was on mines. There were like three different versions from what I've been told.
I don't recall putting out a doxing list.
It was like a list of people that were, I guess, in the cunt stream
Oh,
Discord or something
yeah,
like
they're
that.
yeah, they're oh, that wasn't exactly a doxing list. That was the names of the YouTube channels and so on and so forth, just letting people know who these were and what they were up to. If I wanted to put out a doxing list, I'd have put out their names, home addresses, and shit like that. Now, those guys infiltrated the National Socialist Legion, which I had allied myself with. As a matter of fact, I was an advisor in it, one of two, to the commander of that thing. And I had been saying about security, having these people give up their Facebook, let them know what their Facebooks were, their real Facebooks, and so on, so they could see what these people were like. Now, those people were Antifa, and they got in there with some rainbow list, and they had literally copy and paste, of course, out of context. They had my name on there. Unfortunately, the most inflammatory thing they could put out on mine was I just said something about the something effective like, have you ever seen what happens when oxygen is impregnated in cloth and strikes a flame, and a flame gets struck? It's an accelerant. I'm just saying. Yeah, somebody could look at it and go, well, what's he trying to say? You'll never know because they broke it down individually. This is what I said, but there's no context to it. See, this is what the left does. They were the ones actually trying to dox. They came after, I think, they came after Burnside. I know they were after Scooby. I'm not sure exactly how it started. The only thing at the time I gave a shit about was they were fucking with Burnside, who was actually one of the pillars of my show. I counted on him a lot to keep me straight, and he's just decent. He's just a decent guy, and he's honest. And I say that publicly and private. I don't give a damn who knows it. I still have a great deal of affection for Burnside for that. And I protect my own. And then when this doxing list came out, I was contacted by some people, and I told them to leave certain other people the fuck alone. If you're going to dick with anybody, you dick with me. It was my show, and I'll take responsibility for it. And since you have nothing, piss off. It's not hard to put everything together if you really take the time and do it. It's like shredding paper. Take a little some tape and some patience. You can put it all back together. I still have never called for violence, but as far as it doxing, no. Could I have? Yes. Um,
Have
that
you,
one that one asshole actually got on there and says, "Well, you got all this master list." Yes, I do. Well, you sent me this link. Yeah, but you didn't catch the other two, did you? You had people death threatening. You had people running their mouths, slander, libel. They'd get up just to harass, and I'm laughing at. They literally one night, Tara, one night. I don't even know how many there were. We were doing a show, and they kept making new accounts because as they were commenting, I would just banhammer them because I thought it was great. They're wasting all that time making new YouTube accounts to get on there to make a comment just to get banned. I'm glad that I'm that deep in their fucking head that they feel they have to rage, get on there and try and do something that I'm just going to block. What I'm doing is giving them a taste of what they're going to get if they actually win. Sit down, shut the fuck up. You have no say here.
yeah, I know what the ways are like.
Right? So to me, it was funny. I still laugh about it. To me, they're fucking joke. They have no clues to what the hell they're talking about.
Yeah.
All they know is slander, libel, scream, stomp their feet, wet their pants, suck their thumb. That's it.
Yes.
But
So,
yeah. As far as but to deeply answer your question, right now, National Socialism is a means to an end.
So, I know you disappeared from the net for a little while. What
Hmm.
brought you back?
Well, I always intended to come back. It's a matter of sometimes you gotta take a hit, roll with the punch or two, get up, dust off, let the black eye heal, and you reassess the tactics, the situation, and how was it that he invented the light? Thomas Edison invented the light bulb. He failed 999 times. When asked, you failed 999 times, he says, no, that's not correct. I just found 999 times, 999 ways not to make a light bulb. It's if you don't fail, how do you know you succeeded?
This
What I
is
learned, yeah, what I learned was, if I'm going to do something that I believe deeply in, I will run it. Um, I know what I'm capable of. Apparently, and I'm not being braggadocious or arrogant, but I have people that literally have asked me, dude, dude, I hate that word, dude, when you coming back? Are you ever going to do another show? Answer is yes, I am. But would you rather me slap it together and it be just kind of like a cardboard hut in a hurricane, or would you rather me put it together on a solid foundation, well thought out, put together, and planned?
so. It's said that you were you helped in the information giving of doxing irate prostate.
Is it?
Yes, it is said. Um, I have no clue, really. I mean, I've stated that I have access to Scoopy's discords, and I didn't see anything in his convos with your old Discord account.
No, I have screenshots of every Discord conversation I've ever had, and anything that I mean, I've actually sent them. I think to Burnside, and I think he sent them to you. So yeah, I mean, I mean, they can talk, but unless they can prove it, they need to sit down and shut the fuck up because I'm not going to openly dox. I'm not that type. If I've got your information, and a couple of them have screwed up because they've registered certain things in certain places, which is public domain, which I hate to tell these idiots, the internet is not the end all be all of information. You register your shit in certain places, that's public, and that's open for anybody to find if somebody knows what they're looking. So if I'm going to come to you, it's going to be face to face, and you will know it is me, and you will know why I'm there. It will be filmed because I'm not stupid, and I will fucking put you in your place, and then it will be put up on the net. I'll probably blur their face so to protect an ID because I'm not that kind of filth. That might be their game, but I'd like to think, I've said 1,000 times on the Rebels of the Round Table, we have to be better than that. We can't beat them by becoming them.
Mm-hmm.
So no, as far as irate prostate, that's the peckerhead I was talking. Angry asshole. Yeah, it's pretty close to it. Um, yeah, he's one of the ones. That's another part of the thing that happened with Jack was he was supposed to be, and I don't care who knows this because this was pretty public. And several people know the irate prostate thing happened, and there was some shit talk, and I brought it to Jack's attention, and Jack went to defending him instead of me after knowing me for well over a year. Not fucking cool. So at that point, I started keeping an eye on Jack because he smelled like a subversive. And when he pulled the shit of the facts don't fucking matter, when the entire preposition of the show was objective reality and facts, you're fucking done, asshole. This whole thing is done. And I miss Sharon. I miss doing the show with Sharon. I miss doing the show with Burnside a lot. Hell, there was a guy Simo on there. We had a personal thing, which still is nobody's goddamn business. But I won't lie. I still like him and I miss him. But there's just a bridge. That's a bridge you can't go back across. It was burnt. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't hate Jack either. You know, I still have a great love for that guy. I'm not one of those guys that just hates for because you disagreed with me or whatever. There's just sometimes you got to cut some losses and walk away. You know, when it's the same fucking parties doing the same fucking shit. For example, if you know, a group of us went out and I got us thrown out of a bar 5 fucking times in that night, is it the bars or is it me? Right? So, I mean, that's how that comes down. But as far as doxing people, no, I don't do that. Not unless I absolutely know. Here's the only reason I would dox. Let me put it this way. If I had personal knowledge that I could back up with reasonable, articulable facts that somebody was about to either hurt themselves or damage someone else or their property, you're fucking right. I'm going to say something. But it's going to go through the fucking proper channels first. If they won't do anything about it, then I'll go public out and say, hey, look, I told even these assholes with their clown outfits and their shiny fucking badges that remove them from any moral and ethical fucking ramifications for their actions. And they did fuck all. So now, fix, this is what I know, and you see what happened. So, yeah, that would be the case that I would do that. But as a doxer, no, I'm not. And, I mean, you even said you have the evidence.
Yeah.
But it was a nice try on their part.
Yeah. So you said you have a show coming?
Yes.
Is it going to be, you know, pretty much similar to Knights of the Round Table or what?
It's going to be, well, it's not going to be like, it's not going to have a bunch of different people. Most of it will probably be me. I'm kind of hoping I'm going to do it during the week, probably on Tuesdays and Thursdays. I was hoping to do like a Saturday or Sunday evening show, like edition of the show, similar to the Rebs, but it's not going to be quite as hardcore on the subject matter that we had. It would be more along the lines of I was hoping to get possibly Burnside back, maybe Sharon for like an hour or two, and we would each come in with a news item that we picked out. That we would go over our news item, possibly put our particular take on it, and then have a certain amount of time allocated and formatted so that the other parties could put their commentary in, and then we'd move on to the next one. The old humor and stuff would still be there. The comments, the parsing and the banter, because personally, I enjoyed the shit out of the little digs and shit amongst ourselves and the inside jokes. And I really miss, my favorite part of the whole damn thing was actually the after show chats with everybody. Absolutely loved talking to people that listen to the show, those that could make it into the show, because there was nights where there people just couldn't get in; it got filled up that quick. And I loved listening to their point of views. There's some brilliant people out there with great ideas, and talking to them had helped change my mind a lot. Yeah, and I mean, because some of them brought some really good reasoned arguments to the table, and I think that's where it's at. Let people come to the table. Well, let's all come to a consensus. A bunch of individuals working towards a goal, a collective goal, to move forward. I mean, you like yourself, right? You admitted to me yourself, you tend more to the left.
Yes.
But here we are discussing things on your channel, completely fine.
Oh yeah, I'm open-minded. I'm willing to discuss with people. There are some things that if I have proof, I'll be like, "Fuck you."
I love it too. Yeah, I was listening to your that cast that I think it was Burnside sent me the link. I can only listen to about 20 minutes. I think I said that before we started this, before my brain started to melt. I was listening to that one girl that was just talking. My God, I have rarely in my life heard somebody bloviating out their ass like that. And I don't know who the guy with the Cabbage Patch face was, but man, he was a fucking pit bull, and I was rooting for him. But I can only listen about 25 minutes of that before I'm just like, I can't deal with this. There's no rhyme or reason to this. It's just a bunch of people screaming at each other. And it seemed to me like a couple of them just wanted to bully their way into having their way as opposed to explaining why they came to that conclusion, which tells me they're vacuous and quite honestly intellectually beneath me, and I'm not going to fucking play games with people like that. Which
Yeah.
is why I agreed to the interview with you. Like I said, you're the only second person I've ever given an interview to. I'm real particular about it.
And I'm honored that you gave it to me.
Oh, no problem. No problem. You're worth the salt. You know, the juice, to me, the juice is worth the squeeze. I've gotten to know you.
Yeah. And we can definitely thank Burnside for that one.
Yeah, he's a good dude. Yeah, he's like I said, he's one of the most self-effacing, honest men I've ever met.
All right. Well, I have to get up early in the morning and school and work and then go do laundry.
Right on.
So thank you so much, Micky, for letting me interview you.
Oh, no problem. I enjoyed it. I
I
appreciate
want to
you
thank
give me a chance.
everyone that watched the show, everyone that gave either an up or down vote. Thank you for the interaction because it really doesn't matter. And everyone, have a good night.